We're continuing our study of identity as a theme, and we're moving on to Ashley Jones and her poems, and then also, if we can get to it today, Ibsen's Dollhouse, written in the late 1800s. This is an article from a database called JSTOR, and this is just the first page. Just want to kind of use this as an introductory understanding of identity, particularly female identity, in this case, which is Ashley Jones. And we see that in everyday use, and we'll see that in A Doll's House by Judith Keegan Gardner. I'm going to read it to you and just emphasize those key things here. See if I can get it to move the way I want it to. All right. Men who are sure they have them fear other men are losing theirs. Women with the authority of possession urge other women to seek and find. That's kind of abstract and nebulous. But they're talking about identity. Identity is a central concept or theme for much contemporary cultural and literary criticism, along with its even vaguer terminological twin, the self, has become a cliche. Oh, identity without becoming clear. The word identity is kind of puzzling or paradoxical in itself because it can mean both sameness, I identify with them, that we're the same, and it can mean distinctiveness, like this is how I identify myself different from them. And its contradictions get even greater. They proliferate when it's applied to women. Carolyn Halbrand's brave book, Reinventing Womanhood, inadvertently or unintentionally, illustrates some current confusions about female identity in literature. For example, she claims that successful women are kind of male identified. It used to be that women had to, and still do, wear suits, business suits, and kind of have short hair, look like men. But that it is a failure for a woman to take her identity from a man. So you see the confusion. Other things stated in the book, Judith is summarizing here. Women never form a self. Why? Because they need never undergo an identity crisis, but they have an identity to lose. A quote from the book, "The price of wifehood is abandonment of self." And we'll see that idea in Ibsen's A Doll's House. Not a tad of it in one of Ashley Jones' poems, but she's not a wife, so she doesn't explore that a lot. Fictional women are worse off than the real ones. Women's search for identity has never been less successful within the world of fiction than outside it. They talk about women's quest for self-definition and a lot of 19th century writing. It's not letting me scroll. It says I'm supposed to be able to scroll down, but it's not, so I'm going to have to take us back over here. Let me move this over and find it. Just to finish that out. See, it was almost done. Okay, never mind. Well, let's go. I think you get the idea of what I'm wanting you to see, though, and that is that female identity is perplexing. Not to say that men don't have, they have to identify themselves as men. In the past, that has been, and still in the present, primarily from their work. They get their identity, who I am, by their job, by their vocation. And there's other things. You have your national identity, you have your social identity, you have your work identity. Let's take a look at Ashley Jones. And if you don't know that name, you will now. She's the poet laureate. This is her website. That's the link. Hope you'll explore that. She resides here in Birmingham. She is the poet laureate, means the official poet of Alabama. And she got her MFA, which is your Master's of Fine Arts, in poetry from FIU. But she got her undergrad from UAB. She's got all kinds of awards that she has received. She teaches over at ASPA here in Birmingham. And I follow her on Facebook. You can too. I've met her in person, heard her read her poetry, have talked with her personally, and just phenomenal poet, and continues to make poetry. I just picked these two. One, she finds her identity in her physical body. So let's take a look at this one. God made my whole body. A lot of times women are objectified, that they are thought of in terms only of the features of their body, their whether sexually or through their weight, their size. And so she's, a lot of women wrestle with that, even though men have maybe issues with body image. It seems to be something more predominant with women. So this is her poem, and notice she does not use traditional poetry form. It doesn't all line up in uh, rhyme. It doesn't all have the capitalization. And the way it moves, she starts as a continuation of her title. God made my whole body, and the way it moves, and the way it shakes and jiggles and plops. And God made my smile and the thousand tears that fall from my eyes. God made the sun and the moon and the leaf held loosely in my godson's perfect little hand. And God made the summer breeze, the guitar Ron Isley crooned over. And God made the grass and the bugs, the dogs and the trees. God made all our bodies to make waste. And God made even the waste that lives in us. Just how He made us. And God made the way the world spins and the way it will shake us right off if we don't act right. God made the rivers which make it possible for us to drink, and God made the clouds which hold the rain, and God made the birds which fly and the wolves that howl. God made the folds of my brain and the thoughts that burrow there. God made my belly, my uterus, and all the little eggs which might become children. God made the doubt that rests there like bubbling gas. God made the silence I wrap around myself some nights alone. God made the music we sing and the music we hate. God made the ears, which help us stay balanced, help us to hear what people say behind our backs and in front of them. God made sweet potato pie and aunties and mamas who know how to add just enough nutmeg. God made my whole body. God made my grandma and her gold tooth. God made my grandma and her curly wig. God made my grandma I didn't know. God made my grandpa who was a ghost, and my grandpa who was a terror. God made fear in the way it slices us up thin and flimsy. God made the way a hand quivers before it strikes. God made pain. God made the blood which runs and keeps us running. God made an everlasting red. There's a lot of imagery. We'll just talk about a little bit, give you a chance to explore it as well, something that stood out to you. She talks about her physical body and how God made all of that, and there's a sacredness to that, a holiness to that. It's not dirty, it's what God made. And then she talks about kind of her heritage, her physical body, your DNA, the genetics that you inherited from your parents, your grandparents, and before that. And she's recalling specific things about, the good and the bad with the grandparents, the heritage that starts even with the sweet potato pie and the aunties and mamas, that cultural heritage as well. But just the world that we live in and the individual things, the world inside our bodies. And she's identifying her body with God's creation, the creation outside of herself, before herself, and her own self. And it's a way of kind of redeeming her own identity. And you'll see why she feels she needs to do that in her other poem, Critique of Black Female Demonization. So there's a part in which Black females are demonized, not miscegenation. I'm gonna let you look that one up. And she has the personal pronoun you, so she has someone in mind that's listening. How many times did you practice calling me bulldog, ugly, furious plague before it tasted like truth? So somebody had these slurs, these derogatory terms by which they identified her. In the schoolyard, did you watch the little black girls running in the sun and note how that sun baked them darker? Did you learn to spell their names? The poisonous tongue. In the locker room, now infamously presidential, did you trade stories of conquests and lie to make yours lighter? Or is my body a prize only when it's splayed open, spread with sweetness for you? Did you let my body's gift curdle in your crude retelling? Does it hurt each time you call us unwantable? Does your mother's face fade deeper into black? Somewhere in a past we both know and always return to, I watch you beaten in the field, watch you clubbed to pulp by the big blue badge. There's that image. Then what do? I clean your wounds and kiss your body better, heal you with salve and a meal cooked slow. Somewhere I put my body between yours and harm, but between a blinding white and your black. Somewhere I even put my body on the cross. Reference to sacrifice. Does this sacrifice mean nothing? Don't you understand how woman I am to bear you, feed you, clothe you, and even beat you if it means you'll grow? Don't you see the mirror you shatter when you tell me what you think I'm not? Look, my dark love, at your hands. See what they can't grasp when you let me go. So there's a more generalized identity here. She's taking on the persona of not just one black woman, but many. And she's not identifying just one black male, but um, sounds like more men, black men in general, and the different roles and how she's addressing the objectification. She says the demonization, and then say, but look, I've been there when you've been beaten down, and we're the ones that come and, sacrifice for you, take care of you, and provide for you. And does this sacrifice mean nothing? So, her own identity is uh, demoralized, and yet through her actions and her sacrifice, it should be redeemed, it should be honored. So she's talking about that conflict of identity struggle. And when you're treated one way in your actions, you should be treated better. You're not treated as holy, as sacred in your body. It's so I'll leave you to explore some more of that. In our last couple minutes, I want to take a look with you at an excerpt from Henrik Ibsen, a Norwegian playwright in the late 1800s, his play A Doll's House. This was a revolutionary play. It addressed women's rights in pretty directly. It was controversial. And it's also one of the most produced and longest-lasting plays. It's right up there in there with Shakespeare. In this last scene, it's between Helmer and Nora, the husband and wife. And this is sort of her epiphany moment. She's always identified herself in context of uh, her husband or her father, and now they've had a crisis, and it's really brought some things to light. I'll see if I can do this in 2 minutes. He says up here, "You alarm me, Nora. I don't understand you." And she says, "No, that's just it. You don't understand me, and I have never understood you either before tonight. You need to listen to what I have to say." And then she says, we've been married now 8 years. Does it occur to you that it's weird? The first time you and I have sit down and had a serious conversation. So they have lack of communication. They haven't talked about anything serious. And then she says, you have never understood me. I've been greatly wrong, first by Papa and then by you. And he says, but we've loved you. And she says, no, you never really loved me. You just thought it'd be cool to be in love with me. And then she says, well, here's why. When I was at home with Papa, he told me his opinion about everything, and so I had the same opinions. And it's the same with you. You do everything. You arrange everything to your own taste, so I got the same taste as you. I just, you know, I have no identity of my own. And he's like, well, I've taken good care of you. You're ungrateful. Why haven't you been happy? And she's, well, I thought I was, but not really. I mean, you have been kind to me, but I'm just a doll wife. I was Papa's doll child, and that's my identity as a doll wife. I'm not really given an identity as a person. And he admits that. He says, there's some truth in what you say, but it'll be different. It'll be different. And then she says, I don't think that you can educate me into being a proper wife because you just want me to play this particular role. And then she says she's going to have to leave. She says, I must try to educate myself. Uh, she says, I have to understand myself and everything about me. I have to leave to do that, which is really sad.